A lot has been said in the last few days, and yesterday there was a protest in the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja yesterday, and reports of the police tear gassing the protesters at different areas where they gathered in Abuja yesterday surfaced online, and in fact, Moedisho Orel was the convener of that particular, or who is the convener of that particular protest, has come out to say a few things about what transpired yesterday. The police have also come out to defend what happened yesterday, saying that it wasn't a quest to protect critical infrastructure, as they got a valid court order that restricted the protesters from coming to certain parts of the FCT. And this morning, joining me for this conversation is Barrister Fred Inzeako, who is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst as well. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us, Barrister. Barrister,
hello, good morning. Good to be with you.
Absolutely, it's good to have you.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you.
Just to lay the background, let me take your thoughts on what transpired yesterday. The protesters being dispersed by the police firing tear gas to disperse the protesters, and the police coming out to say, well, it was the action was to prevent damage to critical infrastructure in the nation's capital. What does this say about our approach, the government's approach, particularly to peaceful protest?
Many facts are very clear and very obvious. Number one, it is the right of the citizens to peacefully protest against any wrong action of government. It is their fundamental rights, not only enshrined in Nigerian constitution, but enshrined in the African and People's Charter, and also recognized by United Nations Convention on Human Rights. Number two, the people of Nigeria in a democratic environment have every right to gather and protest against actions of government. Number three, the police have no right whatsoever, have no authority from anywhere to disorganize a peaceful protest, not to talk of firing tear gas at protesters, nor firing lethal weapons on any protesters or any protester. Now the police have denied that they fired lethal weapons, but they accepted that they fired tear gas. They had no reason to fire tear gas. Their responsibility was to provide a safe environment for protesters to peacefully protest, such that the protests will not be hijacked by hoodlums that are usually paid by government to go and scatter protests. Number four, the anti-protestation on the other side, that is, the people who were protesting against the protest, and we are essentially and obviously hired by government to come and protest against a lawful protest by the citizens, is an act that can best be described as an infamy and a shameful and questionable attitude of the government, whereby they have shown that they have very little tolerance to civil protests, which of course indicates that the government is suffering from the hangover of a military dictatorship. So what happened yesterday was a very clear manifestation. Democracy is not growing. It is still toddling around the dictatorial tendencies of the past, and also shows that the people in authority have very little tolerance for civil protests, which is very wrong and very condemnable.
The police spoke about that court order restricting, the protesters from the Aso Rock Villa. Is there a...
For instance, the police claim to have procured a court order. Cannot be ascertained. It cannot be substantiated because they have not shown the people the order, neither have they even indicated the court that gave the order, or the judge or magistrate or whoever that gave that order. So many people now believe that the police was only trying to fly a kite and pull wool across the nostrils of Nigerians and deceive the sensibilities of the Nigerian public. Because for such an order to have been procured by the police, it presupposes that even if there was an order, it was an ex parte order, which even the Chief Justice of the Federation has frowned against, and the judicial system has warned that ex parte orders should not be indiscriminately issued by courts. But this one is even worse, because nobody is sure that there was an order of court. And it's possible that there was no order. It's also possible that there may have been an ex parte order which the police procured through the back door, and has hid the identities and the information about the court and the presiding officer that may have issued the order. But whatever it is worth, any order of court that proscribes peaceful civil protest is at best an order that can say to be wrong. An order that was, as we say in law, that can be issued per incuriam, in which case it was a wrongful order, and any wrongful order on its own, ab initio, has set the tone for its disobedience, because you cannot begin to compel the citizens to obey an order that is issued per incuriam, an order that is issued erroneously against the provisions of the Constitution. And I think that is one of the reasons why the police was hiding information about the order, if at all there was an order. But I think there was no order. I belong to the school of thought that believe that the police had no court order because they were only trying to fly a kite. And whatever action that the police took yesterday were actions against the provisions of the Constitution, because the protest was peaceful. The people conducted themselves peacefully, and they never disturbed or destroyed any public assets, and neither did they cause any untold hardship to the society. Rather, they were only trying to show up the reason for their protestation that would compel government to do what is right. Government is a government of the people, and it should be for the people because it was by the people. We elected the people in government, and they have no reason whatsoever not to play by the rules according to the Constitution.
There are those who argue that the right to assembly and the right to protest is not absolute. That at the point where your right to protest or to assembly is starting to impact on the freedom of movement of some other citizens, then it can't be absolute. Is this correct, or is this just hiding behind a finger?
When the president is passing on the road and the road is completely blocked, what right do the people have in that regard? When governors are passing on the road and the sirens have to blare and the citizens will be cleared off the road, what rights do people have in that regard? If in the course of protestation, the road is blocked, it is a temporary thing. After all, when the president is passing, it's just the president elected by the people, and the road is completely blocked. Don't forget that the protesters don't block the road, but it is heavy human traffic that they took onto the road, and they are moving from one point to another. And that simply tells you that their exercise, as long as it is civil, as long as it is peaceful, it is their right. If a trailer or a tanker falls on the road and the road is blocked, what do? Do you not wait until it is cleared? So I do not think that the issue about traffic gridlock on account of protestation is anything to worry about, or that it infringes the right of road users, because many other things can as well infringe the right of road users. Ordinary accident can infringe your right. You now run into the accident because you want to exercise your right. When the president is passing and the road is blocked, or any such top official of government and the road is blocked, will you now defy that and say your right is being infringed. So, yes, I agreed that the right of the protester stops where others' rights begin. And that can only be within the context of civility and within the context of safety. Once the protest does not undermine the security and safety of other road users, I tell you that they have not breached any law.
We are hearing as well that 8 people, including one of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, and a relative to Nnamdi Kanu, Fineboy Kanu, as well as 6 others who were arrested yesterday, would be arraigned in court. Should Nigerians be arrested for protesting? And what do you think will come out of this arraignment in court when it's done?
The question is, what is the basis for their arrest? What is the reason why they should be arrested? When has a peaceful protest become a crime? Arrest can only come when there is a committal of crime. Peaceful protest does not amount to a crime. In the video footages that we saw Aloy Ejimako and Omole Sowore and others standing by the side of the road and shouting, "Free Nnamdi Kanu now." What has that done to do with criminality? So why would the police misconduct themselves by going to arrest them? In fact, it was even the police that committed the crime of a breach of the provisions of the Constitution. Because any breach of the provisions of the Constitution amounts to criminality. So if there are people that should be arrested, it is the police officers that went there, instead of them to conduct their lawful business of protection of the protesters, they started shooting tear gas canisters at them and then arresting them unlawfully. The same unlawful act which the government committed by extraordinarily renditioning of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, which in a layman's language can be understood as a state kidnap. What the government did was to kidnap Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya. That is what it is. And the courts in the land have frowned at that and called it a breach of the fundamental rights of citizen Nnamdi Kanu. International Convention on Citizens' Rights, and a breach on bilateral relationship between Nigeria and the country that was involved in that extraordinary rendition. So the committal of that crime, has government been sanctioned or given any punishment in that regard? So the police that tried to stop protesters yesterday were the ones that committed the offense against the law and against the Constitution. So now that they had no reason to arrest those men, they should immediately release them without any much ado. Charging them to court, what will be the basis of the charge? Or would they say that they were causing breach of the peace, or what? Or would they say that they were conducting illegal protest? Which protest it was illegal? So I think that all these things are signs of the terrible pattern of democracy that we practice here, which I always maintain that we don't have a democracy in Nigeria. We only have civil rule, ruled by a few misguided individuals who do not mean well for the country and for the people. And that's all we have. And it's very unfortunate that 26 years into a straightforward civilian rule, we have not even started making any step towards democracy. Until we start the little gains of democracy that we saw under Goodluck Jonathan have all been wiped out under this current APC government, from Buhari down to President Tinubu. And I can tell you that it's not only unfortunate, but it's a bad omen for the health of Nigeria.
Yesterday as well, the special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, criticized Aloy Ejimako, who we just spoke about, one of those who was arrested yesterday. In a post he put up on X yesterday, he expressed disappointment over Ejimako's decision to join what he described as a shambolic protest in Abuja. And I quote what he put up on X yesterday. He said, "I spotted Aloy Ejimako, one of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, among the small group of protesters mobilized in Abuja by Omoyele Sowore. I wonder what Mr. Ejimako was thinking when he decided to join this shambolic protest. As a lawyer, he should be aware of the principle of sub judice, particularly in relation to the ongoing treason case before the court. The prosecution has concluded its case and it's now incumbent upon Mr. Ejimako and the other lawyers to mount a strong defense for Kanu. Is there anything here, or is there anything in the code of conduct for lawyers that prevent a lawyer in a particular case from being involved in a protest such as the one that held yesterday?
There is nothing under the sun in Nigerian law books that prevents a lawyer from protesting. A lawyer is first and foremost a citizen, and every rights and privileges that are accorded to every citizen are also accorded to every lawyer. And the fact that you're a lawyer does not mean that you will not protest. Aloy Ejimako did not wear wig and gown to go and protest. If he wore wig and gown to go and protest in the midst of other people who did not, then you could say that he was taking the court to the protest ground. But he wore an ordinary dress just like every other citizen and protested as citizen Aloy Ejimako. When he goes to court, he will now operate as barrister Aloy Ejimako. These are two different situations. So the Legal Practitioner Privileges Act does not prevent a lawyer from protesting. Nigerian Constitution does not prevent a lawyer from protesting. Every other laws and statute books in Nigeria, none of them prevents a lawyer from protesting, because that would be discriminatory against the citizen. If you now, because you profess a particular profession, then you are barred from protesting. As a matter of fact, it will be against the right of not to be discriminated against, as enshrined in sections 35 to 37 of Nigerian Constitution. So the lawyer has every right to protest just as any other citizen. So Bayo Onanuga is only trying to, as usual, live up to his bidding as the spokesperson of the government, irrespective of whether he was speaking right or whether he was speaking wrong. In this case, he has exposed his shamelessness by calling that protest a shambolic one, and that it was a handful of people, whereas almost the whole of Abuja emptied onto the streets in protestation, as if he didn't see that momentous, tumultuous crowd that of people that were asking for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. A sensitive government should take heed from this type of occurrences. A government that is sensitive should sit back and consider the fact that what would have led all these people without any compulsion, without any inducement to come out to mount this level of protest. That means that many Nigerians, and meanwhile, almost all the markets and business premises, public business premises in the country were all closed down yesterday in sympathy to this protest. So those who even stayed at home were also protesting in a manner of speaking. So if you're now looking at the protest success only by the huge crowd you saw in Abuja, multiply that by 36, that will tell you the quantum of protestation across the country. And that tells you that a sensitive government should sit back, consider its policies and programs, and think about the feelings and opinions of the people, and take actions that are well-meaning, that will advance the cause of our democracy. It is not just to come out and lie and shamelessly ignore the facts and begin to stoke up issues that should not be stoked up. Let him go and write the MBA now. Why is he writing on X? He should write the MBA and tell them to sanction Aloy Ejimako, and then wait to see the kind of answer that he will get. And I think that if a leader, the body language of a leader determines the actions and the attitudes and the words of the lieutenants and the hangers on. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu continued to be a Democrat that he avowed to be, I do not think that Bayo Onanuga will be speaking and writing the way Amana he does so. And he's doing that to the pleasure of Mr. President. And if there's anybody who Nigeria should be angry with, it is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and not Bayo Onanuga. So as far as we're concerned, Bayo